Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi, folks. Welcome back. There's a couple of videos I put together. You saw from the thumbnail. We are in trouble, and I mean America's in trouble. It doesn't mean it's the end. It doesn't mean we can't recover. It doesn't mean we can't get what we once had back. We are in big, big trouble. And this really isn't about Trump and Biden and everything else, even though this first clip's going to show Biden. It shows how much trouble the country is really in, society-wise, and also politically. Let's listen a little bit, and I'll make comments along the way. There's several videos here. Let's check it out.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine.
Now, I didn't say that while Senator at the time, Biden, this is from the 1990s, he's talking about the new crime bill. There's his son, Hunter, on the right.
No bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, $1/4 of $1. We passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Under our forfeiture statutes, the government can, take everything you own, everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you've just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society. They are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
Now, ironically enough, a lot of people, including myself at the time, went along with a lot of the mandatory minimums because we didn't know what else to do. The fact of the matter is, Democrat policies since the 1960s is to blame for many of the things Biden is talking about. The drug crisis at the time was crack. Now it's fentanyl, taking away lives. It's their own policies of taking the male out of the home and making welfare and government the father, to make it so single mothers don't have to worry about an income, don't have to worry about a house or food or an apartment or whatever. They can get that from the taxpayers at taxpayer expense. And the government now controls their lives and puts them into a hole they can never get out of. And it's guys like him that created the crisis. It's kind of like I go into somebody's house, I sneak in, and I start the house on fire. I run out, and then I come back a few minutes later as the house is burning with a fire extinguisher trying to put it out, and I can't. But I get credit for being a hero in a fire that I started. This is a video from Fox Business with Neil Cavuto. Not a big fan of Trump's at all. I think he's a Nikki Haley person, I don't remember. Talking to one of President Biden's top, if the not top, economic guy. It's very interesting. I wish reporters would do this more. I'll give Neil kudos on this one. If you ask them a question and they won't answer it, you keep asking the question over and over and over. Let's check it out.
Why does he keep saying that? You're his top you're the head of the Council of Economic Advisors. Do you ever whisper in his ear, Mr. President, just to be technical about it, it was at 9% when you assumed office. It was 1.4%. It got as high as 9% in 2022. You brought it down from that, but it was never, ever, ever 9% when you came into office. So why does he keep saying it?
Well, first of all, let me point out that in that very quote you played, the president talked about how concerned he was for households struggling with prices that he consistently
That's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you.
So
why does he keep misrepresenting this?
He's making the point that the factors that caused inflation to climb to 9% were in place when he took office. I
No,
think it
that's
was
not
by,
what he said. He said it was at 9%. It would eventually
So by
get to
the-
9% a little over a year after that. But the fact of
Well,
the
that's-
matter is it wasn't 9%. So if I can't
I don't have nearly the education and economic matters as gentleman on the right, who's head of the Economic Council for Biden. But you don't need to be a genius to figure out when you pump in literally trillions of dollars in the Build Back Better and all the COVID money that came out to all the universities and all the businesses and all the people, that pumping all that money into the economy, trillions literally at once, would cause inflation. Of course, they didn't teach that in school anymore, but any teenager really in a decent school knows this. And if they don't, you explain it to them, they go, oh, okay, that makes sense. I was at a grocery store once, place I regularly went to. And I said, you know, it's funny. I think it was like $80 for what I got. I said, you know, it's funny. I says, 6 months ago, that was about $45. And the lady standing by says, yeah, I know, it's terrible, isn't it? I says, well, I guess it matters who you vote for. Didn't mention any names, didn't mention Trump or Biden. I says, just said, I guess it matters who you vote for. She goes, how do you figure? And that was my opening. And I said, Joe Biden pumped in trillions of dollars into the economy, which causes inflation. And she said, how do you figure that? I said, ma'am, that's economics 101. And the couple sitting behind her was smiling and shaking their heads like they couldn't believe she didn't know. The vast majority of people have no idea what causes inflation. So when the side that they like blames the other side, then that must be the reason. Let's listen on.
trust in quoting data in real time, why should I believe what he's talking about now?
So the annual growth in core inflation in the second quarter of 21 was in fact about 9%. And his point about inflation down 60% off its peak is very much the case. So
No,
look,
it wasn't. It was not.
again,
It was not at that. So you're almost as bad as he is. Why can't you just say it was high? It got as high as 9%. You'd be accurate in saying that. And we have now brought it down, and we're struggling in around the 3% area. But it's better than it was. But instead, to hang it on his predecessor, that you inherited something that was through the roof when we were in the middle of COVID. It just seems to the American people, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you're lying. Neil. You're just lying.
Well, hold on. I hear you. The president was making the point that I think is unequivocally true. The factors that took inflation to 9% were in place when he took office.
That is not what he said, Jared. And you're a very smart guy with this stuff. You could just whisper. And he's a good friend of yours, obviously. He thinks the world of you. Many others do as well. You could have just told him, Chief, I got to tell you, Mr. President, whatever you say, you might even call him Joe. That's how close you are. Say, sir, it was not 9%. Stop it with the 9%, because the more you say that, the more people don't believe what you're saying.
Look, I think what the American people care most about is the fact that inflation...
The American people care about truth, Jared.
Hold on, Neil. Neil, this only works if you let me talk, okay?
You haven't answered my question. I've asked it 5 times, five ways.
The president was making the point that the factors that caused inflation were in place when he took office, and that's unequivocally true.
Right.
I take your point, and we can have we can go on all day back and forth on this.
Number for Donald Trump, 22%. Where was Donald Trump at this point 4 years ago in the polls? He was just at 9% of the vote. So he's...
Now, after you saw that with Neil Cavuto, look at what's going on here. Black voters at the polls and lower income people. I'm not saying all black people are lower income, but all lower income people, inflation at high amounts, high percentages, is some of the most cruelest and vicious taxes on low-income people. Whether you're on welfare or not, or partial welfare, or you work and get food stamps, or whatever the scenario is, they can't make ends meet. When they used to come in and they had $100 on their food stamp card, and you got X amount of groceries, stuff you normally buy. And then 3, 4, 5 months later, that same $100 is cut in half. You get half the groceries for the same $100. It's ridiculous. So now you get, instead of getting 2 bags of groceries, you get 1. And a lot of them have children. They eat as well as parents. Again, the welfare system has killed these people. And most people that receive food stamps and welfare are white. What the point he's trying to make is black voters are waking up. And I hate to categorize people in race like that, but it's true. He said 9% for Trump in 2020, 22% now in 2024. That's 2.5 times. It's, yeah, granted, it's still a low amount. It should be 50%. But with the media like it is, in second, third generation welfare, these people are locked in mentally and they're locked in politically. And they're all from the big cities. Almost all of them are Democrats. All of them. And they're starting to wake up. But unfortunately, it took 50 years to get here. It's not going to take 2 years to get them out of it. But it's making progress. And this isn't about Trump. This is about Republicans making their case, which they really suck at. So let's listen to the rest.
Seen more than a doubling in his support among African Americans. This margin, which was in the 70s just 4 years ago, look at where it is now, 69 minus 22. That puts it in the...
Look at the look on the lady's face on the left. It's like she's got a pain somewhere. She's looking like, I can't believe this. This can't be true. We're actually showing it live on the air? On CNN? What are you doing? Other black people are going to see this. They're going to want to change their vote, too. She looks actually scared to death. It's comical.
40s. My goodness gracious. If this held through the general election, obviously we're still months away, this would be by far the best performance for a Republican candidate among black voters in a generation, 2 generations, probably since 1960 and Richard Nixon against John F. Kennedy. That's how long we're really talking about when we're looking at this margin here. This could be a truly historic margin. It's quite a troubling sign for the Biden campaign, Sarah.
Now, having seen that, this is a short video at Logan Airport, which is in Boston, one of the major airports on the East Coast, and even in the country for that matter. Was there many years ago when I used to fly in New England up in Maine. And look at this. If somebody didn't tell you this was an American airport today, not 1990s like the original Biden video I showed, but today, you'd think it was a third world country somewhere. Those are illegal migrants that were allowed into the country. And they're being flown all over the country at night normally. And there they are. And airports are filled like this. Remember, this is Logan in Boston. Look at this picture. It looks like the picture that everybody goes into the gym when the tornado comes or a flood or whatever. It's amazing to me. This is absolutely third world country BS. It's incredible. Let's check it out. I'm going to run it a couple times because it's a short video. Can you believe that? Can you really believe that? Now, folks, check this out. This is disturbing. Very disturbing. A bunch of parents created a banner, Free Palestine, and they're doing a march. And they're having the kids chant what they say in the loudspeaker. This is actually horrific. Look how little these kids are. And look what they're being indoctrinated into. It's incredible.
Children, united! The children, united! We'll never be defeated! We'll never be defeated! Hey, hey, ho, ho! Zionism has got to go! Zionism has got to go!
Now, how do you react to something like that? How do you react to children chanting about a terrorist group, Hamas? How is that possible in the United States? And here's another picture. This is the Texas National Guard guarding parts of the border along the Mexican border. And this is a fairly famous picture a few weeks ago. And they overrun the Texas National Guard. Let's check this out, because this, again, this looks like a movie set. This looks like something that can't be true. I mean, look at them. Look at them. They see an opening in the fence. And that's their, once they get in the country, even if they get caught or they turn themselves into immigration, they're allowed in, and they know it. And they're right at the border, and they won't be turned away. And here they come. Look at this. This looks like a movie. This looks like something that can't be real. And by the way, for whatever's worth department, the individuals that were arrested in this, a lot of them got away and entered the country, but the ones that were caught were released by a federal judge into the country after this. Folks, we are in trouble. Our federal judges, our state judges have just turned so far left. This, you know, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but how is this allowed to be happening? How is it allowed? Well, they had a Homeland Security head under Obama testify at Congress that Homeland Security, the Border Patrol agents, are the most they can handle is 1,000 a day. And under the Biden, even the new Biden immigration plan, more than 5,000 a day will be allowed to enter. Don't let them tell you once we reach a certain number, we close the border. That's a lie. This is third world country stuff again.
Again,
This is insane. Now, we're going to see one of my favorites, Mika and Joe Scarborough. And the point they're trying to make is it's all misinformation about Biden being fumbling and mumbling and Mr. Magoo-like, and, you know, what he says in speeches. He loses his way on stage. You can tell the man's having mental difficulties, early onset dementia is my opinion. I think doctors have said the same thing, even though I'm not a doctor. It's really Trump that has trouble formulating sentences and reading. And I want you to listen to this because it's so bizarre. And I used to think, you know, they're just grifters and they make a lot of money. Like Rachel Maddow makes, what, $30 million a year working one night a week on the air? These guys do pretty well, too, because they're married, so they're probably getting $10 million plus each. That's a pretty good wage, $10 million a year times two in this country. So I think I used to think, well, they just did it for the money. You know, they're just grifters, and it's part of what they want them to say, because MSNBC is the worst by far. But I'm beginning to believe that these people have such Trump derangement syndrome that they're starting to believe this now. Listen to what they say. This is on the air to millions of people. And usually the regular viewers of MSNBC are far left progressives that have Trump derangement syndrome. Let's listen.
just like the way we started this show. Trump is literally crazy on stage, and I say it not in a good way. Not well, not fit, not mentally capable of holding together a sentence when his prompter goes down. And yet Biden is constantly covered for being old, but yet travels onto the world stage doing speeches, dinners, important ceremonies.
Yeah, he's just at the Top of his game, Joe Biden. He's sharper than he's ever been. Granted, even when he was younger from the original video I showed, he could articulate a sentence. He was still dumber than a bag of rocks, but at least he could articulate a sentence. Now it's Trump that's the one that has mental difficulties and trouble concentrating and speaking. Biden is as sharp as they come, and he does all these things around the world, and he's respected by world leaders for his mental capabilities. You got to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. Let's listen.
Recognizing people who suffered and survived D-Day,
Right.
spending time with them, connecting with them. You see it all on video, except if you go to these places or you talk to those Republicans, you see the one time where he couldn't find his chair.
Well, but even
Or
that
it's
was a
doctored.
lie. It's this.
Couldn't find his chair. It was a D-Day celebration with Mrs. Biden and the president of France, Macron. It's like he leaned over, he bent over and like froze there. He does it all the time. There's a video out now during a Juneteenth celebration with good 100 people behind him all clapping and dancing to some tune. And there's Kamala Harris and her husband. And I won't say who's in the crowd because this website doesn't like that criticism of those kinds of individuals. But he's just standing there frozen. Everybody else is clapping and singing. He's got an arm stuck out forward, frozen. At first, he looks like, well, maybe the picture just froze. No, it's not. Everybody else is moving by him. The man has severe mental problems. I don't say he's crazy, but his age is catching up with him. There's people in their 50s with dementia. It's not usual, but it's not impossible. It happens all the time. He is way past his prime. Way past his prime. In 4 years, actually 4.5, almost 5, counting when he ran for president in 2020. 5 years is a lot when you're at that age and you're suffering with early onset dementia. They're actually making the case that Trump is the one, whether you like his personality or not, is immaterial. Trump is the one mumbling and fumbling. He's the Mr. Magoo. And Biden is as sharp as they come. Let's listen to the rest.
Information. It's doctored.
This is where we are right now.
So it's lies versus the truth. It really is. And let Republicans keep lying about Joe Biden. It's only going to help him in the end. It's only going to lower expectations so much that he's going to come out and do what he does at every State of the Union address. He's going to outperform because of all the lies that are told about him.
The economy, Trump leads.
And here we go. More national polling. It's incredible to me. Absolutely incredible. Remember Bill Clinton in the early 90s when he ran, and there was a big sign on one of his campaign headquarters that read, "It's the economy, stupid." Because the economy was starting to tank a little bit in the early 90s. That's when Bush Sr. was president. And it is. But the fact of the matter is now immigration is starting to be the number one issue depending on what poll you have. The economy and immigration, actually, they're very much dovetailed together. Having unlawful, illegal immigration takes jobs away from Americans. I don't want to hear that they're doing jobs that Americans won't do. The fact of the matter is it keeps wages low. Just like when there's too much money in the money supply, it causes inflation. Too many people seeking work causes the hourly wages to go down. It's the same principle. They'll do it for less than Americans will. So Americans are pushed out. Let's listen.
Immigration, Trump leads. Foreign conflicts, Trump leads. And even on preserving democracy, which has obviously been a focal point of the Joe Biden campaign, he only leads on this issue by 4 points.
Now we're going to end here with our favorite Congress member. Now, this was before she was a Congress member. As you see there from 2016 Trump speech before he won. And she's going crazy, screaming, interrupting the place. And then she ran for Congress and won. This is now our Congress member. And there's many, many just like her. Folks, we are in big, big trouble.
You guys are crazy!
You're an animal. Get a job.
And there you have it. Now she's a sitting member of the U.S. House of Representatives. And a lot just like her. You know, they make their comparisons to Rome all the time. I'm not an expert on Roman history, but I've seen great civilizations, great countries, great nations crumble. France, Spain, England, you name it. They've all crumbled. No, they didn't turn into third world countries by any means, but they certainly lost their power, authority, their moral authority, and everything else. And we are at that teeter right now. We are in huge, huge trouble. I want to reach out to the Biden voters or the people that are sitting on the fence not sure what to do. And the people that say, well, they're both suck, so I'm just going to stay home. There are cemeteries all over the world. Go to Arlington. The sight of those gravestones and Stars of David will change your mind instantly that those people are now in the ground dead to give you the rights that you have. And one of those is voting. If you stay home, if you just don't care, the bad guys always win. And it's incredibly disrespectful for the men and women that are in cemeteries like that not to vote. But those independents out there, the ones on the fence, I'm trying to appeal to you. And some of the few Democrats that are left that aren't progressive nut bars. And people like myself, baby boomers. Now, I'm on the younger end of the baby boomers. I was born in 56. Baby boomers represent a huge percentage of Democrat voters. And they think that their Democratic Party is a Democratic Party of John Kennedy, and it's not. Even the beginning video with Biden shows how different they really were. There are videos of Obama talking about the fear of so much illegal immigration. Even he said so. And he said so as senator, even though he was senator for like 10 minutes. It's the Democrat Party has gone so far left, they're unrecognizable. And this is the result of that directly. Am I saying the Republicans know everything and are perfect? Far from it. But we got to put the brakes on. And it's escalating now. It would take decades to get to this point. Now it's happening in months. Look, little kids chanting for Palestine and Hamas with their parents goading them on and leading the way. It's insane what's happened in our schools. They had a young lady, I forgot who was doing the interview here on YouTube, talking about he was a guy dressed in drag. He was a gay man that was part of the trans movement, himself personally. And he said to the girl, you realize, of course, you're protesting against Israel. Me being a gay man, if I was in Palestine, I would be put to death, thrown off a building, stoned to death. You realize that, right? And she went, no, that's not true. It's Israel that does that, not Palestine. You're mistaken. There are people that are part of the Pride movement in Israel. And she looked at him stunned. Stunned. Are you sure? He said, absolutely. Well, that gives me something to think about, she said. That's kind of a gray area. Throwing people off of buildings and stoning them to death is a gray area. And these individuals he was interviewing go to that college. And there's millions of them just like them. They've been so brainwashed since junior high school, middle school, elementary school, in the one case with a march there. There's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? My command of language isn't so hot today, apparently. There's a lot of people that have just been brainwashed into believing the world is flat. And they do everything in their power to make sure that's true. And they don't want to hear the truth. But we need to start to change. We've been going downhill for at least a decade. Now, we've been going downhill as a nation, I think, since the 70s, but it's been greatly accelerated with the election of Barack Obama. There's no question. We've got to put the brakes on. And then when we slow it down and stop it, we can start working the other direction. But we're teetering on the edge. And I hope and I pray that things work out this November. I truly do. What do you think? Do you think it's too late? Or do you think there's still a chance to save America? The America that I grew up in, and the America my grandparents grew up in, and my parents grew up in. I want that America for my grandkids. I have two, a boy and a girl. I want them to live in the America that I grew up in. And we'll have to see how it works out. Until the next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.